Hello guys, and welcome back to the third video of this series. Finally we are starting with CSS or Cascade Style Sheets. First of all, I want to clarify that CSS is not a programming language, it's a styling language that provides layout and design to our websites, and even though it's easy to understand, it can be a little harder to master. So how we add CSS to our HTML page? There are three main options that you can use, and we are gonna see some example of each ones. First, we are starting with adding CSS rules into the style attributes of the HTML tags. Let's see some examples. Okay, so let's get started by creating a new file. For this, let me press Ctrl N for new file. And first I'm gonna save it as HTML. I'm gonna save it here. Project. This second, I'm gonna save it as inline CSS dot HTML. And we can start writing our HTML template, or we can use the template that Visual Studio Codes provide. Just write the exclamation mark and press tab, and see we have the starting layout for an HTML page. Let's provide a title, first CSS, and in the body let's write some heading. Let's write some heading 1. This is a CSS page, and let's write another element. Let's go with a header 3. Testing adding CSS to HTML pages using inline CSS rules. Let's leave it like that, and let's open the file. Okay, see, we have a very simple CSS page here. And so to add CSS to any HTML element with the option 1, which is inline, we started using the style attribute of any HTML tag. Inside the style tag we should write the CSS property name followed by a column, a value, and then semicolon. So let's say, for example, we wanna work with the color. The CSS property here is color, a column. Let's write some value, let's say red, for example, and then semicolon. That's it. That's a valid CSS rule for the heading 1. Let's save here and reload, and see the color of this text has changed to red. We can continue adding new rules here. For example, let's say, I don't know, maybe border bottom, 1 pixel, solid blue. Oh, now it's fine. Border, I make a mistake here. It should be border, like that. Okay, and see we have a pixel on the bottom, 1 pixel width of color blue. We can, but it looks really ugly, to be honest, so let's get rid of that. Okay, let's leave it like that, and add another CSS rule to the heading 3. So remember style, and inside the double quote there we should write some CSS property. Let's say, for example, font size, column, a value. This time I'm gonna go with 24. In this case we need to provide 24 watt. We need to provide some unit of measure. For font size is commonly used pixels, so the font size will be 24 pixels, and just missing the semicolon. Okay, that's a valid CSS rule. Let's save here and reload. It didn't make too big of a change, but let's change that to 29 pixels and see the text is changed, or the font size. Okay, let's add another CSS rule to this header tree. Let's go this time with font style. Oops, font style. Oh, come on, font style. And let's go with italic. So save, reload, and see the text style has changed. Okay, we have seen how to add CSS using a style attribute, and I'm gonna take a second here to ask you, please guys, never use this style attribute for adding a style to our page, as we are mixing the structure of the page, the layout, which in this case are the HTML tags. We are mixing that with the style, with the presentation, and that's really a bad way to work. So let's see two better options. The second option we have to add some style to our HTML is internal CSS. This consists of adding rules in a style tag in the same HTML file. And before we see an example, please remember that there is a big difference between HTML attributes and HTML tags. So let's get on to the examples. So let's continue with the same file that we used in previous example, and let's start by removing the style attribute of all the HTML tags. As I told you before, this is not a good way to add a style to our page. So there we have it. I removed the style attribute, so let's create the style tag. So inside the style tag we can start adding all the CSS rules we want. Each CSS rule must follow this syntax. First we need to specify the selector. This is to what element these CSS rules will be applied to, and inside there we specified a list of property and a value for each property. And it's important to notice here the opening and closing curly braces are same as the column and semicolon, as all are part of the CSS syntax and must be followed like that. Okay, so let's get creating some CSS rule, and let's start by targeting the H1, and from the H1 we want to change the color to maybe some dark blue. That's right. And see, the same happens, but we have the style are separated from the HTML elements. And we can continue adding here more attributes. For example, let's go with I don't know, maybe font size. Let's go with 0 pixels and some border in the bottom. Border in the bottom of 1 pixel, style solid, and a color of light gray. Where is it? Light gray. Here it is. Finally, let's add in some margin in the left of, I don't know, 80 pixels. Okay, and see, border bottom, the font size is too small, maybe. Let's increase that. Okay, that's better. And let's write another CSS rule for this time for the header tree. To header tree we will apply some color of maybe just blue, no dark, and font size of 30 pixels. That will be fine. Some margin in the left. Let's go with 100 pixels. That's enough. And see, the same apply, but I really don't like this this blue. Let's change it back some dark gray of this value. Okay, in a moment I will explain these colors, this type of coloring, and what margins and margin options we have to choose from. We can create a CSS rule that target multiple elements. For example, we will create some rule that target both the header 1 and the header 3, and for both we will apply some font style italic or italic. Yeah, it's applied to both elements. Let's create some more elements to get a better understanding of the CSS. Let's start with some label. I'm gonna say username. Let's create some input, type text. Let's create another label. Let's say password. Let's go with input type text also. Finally, some button here. Let's say button. Okay, missing an N here. Come on. And please log me in. I think it's a single word. Oh no, let's improve a little that. Let's create here a break line, another break line here. Okay, a little better. Oh, I'm missing the column here. Okay, that's a very simple capture form. That's a label, text, a password, and a text. We could write something here. The problem is the password is visible. That is not acceptable for any web page. So let's change here text for type of password, and now it's not visible anymore. So let's continue adding CSS to target these new elements. But first let me wrap all these elements inside some div. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this here. Okay, and let me show you why I put a div. So let's target this newly created div and add some background color of light gray, like that. Okay, let's add in some padding of padding left. Let's go in padding left of 20 pixels. Some padding right, the same. Come on, I cannot type today. Of 20 pixels. Some padding in the bottom, also 20 pixels, and padding in the top of get what, 20 pixels. Okay, a little better. As you can see here, we are creating another rule to target the div elements. The problem is if we have multiple div elements here, let's write some text here, example div2. The same style will apply to all the divs that we could have in our page. What can we do if we want to target this style to some specific div or some specific element? We have two options. First, we will target the ID of such element, div capture, for example, and we change here to target. To target the div, we write the hash numeral and then the name of the div capture in this case. Okay, let me put another div to see the difference. Div second div. And see, now this CSS style was applied only to this element, to any element that has the div as div capture. And remember that in any HTML, the div element must be unique, meaning that no two pair of elements can have the same div. So another option we can have here. Let's say we want to apply the same style to the first and the second div. Oh, sorry, the first and the third div. Come on, third div. Okay, what can we do if we want to apply this style to both the first and the third div, but not the second. In this case, we could add a new ID here, ID, and save div second, and then say it here. You know what? This is for div capture and also for div second. Okay, that's another option. It's not the better option though. There are better options for this case. And when we are applying the same style to multiple elements, I think it's time to create a CSS class. To create a class, just write the dot and the name of the class, div colored. So we have a class created. This class is called div colored, and we can apply this class to any element we want. For example, we like to apply to this, so we say div colored like that. We want to apply the same style to this one, so class and the name of the class, div colored. And see, this is a better option because in the future, if we are getting more and more divs, in this case we just need to add the class here, and no change is needed in the CSS. Let me get back to this level. Okay, let's continue working with this CSS class. I think is the most used method of adding a style to CSS element, defined classes of similar style and applying these classes to multiple elements. For example, we can create a class called VTN, maybe VTN OK. For the VTN OK, we have some font color of dark green, some font size of let's go with 18 pixel. Some font weight bold. Maybe we can give it a border of 1 pixel, solid, also dark green. Where is dark green? Here. And let's use this class for the only button we have right now. So we say class attribute equal to VTN OK. Okay, we are missing the background color here. Background color white. Maybe some margin in the top of 10 pixels. And we can use this for multiple elements. For example, this was a capture form for login. Let's say this is an element. Let's use a header for here. Header for I don't know, capture new user. And suppose we have something similar here. Oh, I'm missing this. Okay, in this case we are applying this VTN OK, this style that we say to the user. This is the primary button, the primary action on the form, the primary action of this of the button. And to any button we want to have this similar style, we just need to apply this CSS class. And we could have another similar class or contrary class that VTN wrong, or no wrong, VTN danger. Let's call it VTN danger and say that the color is some dark red, some font size maybe a little smaller. Let's go with 16. Font weight, it's also bold. Let's go with border, it's also 1 pixel. Solid boot color, let's go with red. Oh, I'm just missing the background color white. And finally margin top of also 10 pixels. And let's create another button here in the second form, class btn danger, and let's say delete user. Okay, and let's create another button here. Let's say button okay, button cancel. I cancel. I don't want to log in, I just want to leave away, so this is cancel. But this is the let user. This is a danger action. This is red to make the user clearly identified and quickly identified that this is good, this is bad. Maybe these are not the best choice of color, but you get the idea, no? And finally, I'm just missing to show you that an element can make use of multiple CSS class. For example, this is used using deep colored. Also could use the deep bordered class, and let's create such class. It's called deep border. Okay, for that we just apply some border 1 pixel solid black. Let's go with 2 pixels. You can see the result, and what I wanted to show you is that this element, this div, is using multiple CSS classes, and you can continue adding classes here like so, multiple classes, as many as you want. So this is a difference. As you can see, there is a big difference of adding all the style rules here, because we can reuse some style rules. For example, I'm reusing this btn okays rule in multiple elements, and using the inline CSS, we will need to repeat the same style in both elements. The third option for adding CSS to our page is using external CSS. Instead of creating the CSS rule in the same file as we are writing the HTML, we create this CSS rule in a separate file with a CSS extension. In this file, we will use the same rules, the same syntax, but this will give us a more organized project, and we can use this CSS resulting file to be included in multiple HTML files, so we can create an overall style for our site and include this style for multiple HTML pages, and that's all. We don't need to copy and paste the same CSS rules here and there in the different HTML files. So let's get coding. Okay, so let's continue with the same file we have, with the same HTML file. This is where we left in the previous example. And for the third option, for external CSS, we start by creating a new file. And let's save that file first. Let's save it as maybe style.css. And in here we're going to start creating CSS rules. But as we already have these styles here, I'm gonna cut it from here. We don't need this style tag anymore. I'm gonna save, and here in the CSS we don't need this style tag, we just need the CSS rules like that. So save, and nothing happened, as you can see here, because we still need to link both files. We need to tell this HTML file that they should go and use the styles written in this file. So, and for that we use the link HTML tag, link, and in the href property we specify the direction or the path for the style CSS file. In this case, as both files are in the same folder, we just need to write the name of the file, style CSS, and we can specify that the relation between is a style sheet, and voila. As you can see here, now the style is applied to this HTML, and all these CSS rules can be applied to any other CSS file just by adding this link relation as we do here. And maybe we need to change in some cases the path to that file. For example, let me show you here. In my case, I put both files, the CSS in the HTML, in the same folder, inside this folder. But for more organization in your project, we can go ahead and create a new folder called styles, and inside that styles file we can add our style CSS. And now it's not working as the HTML cannot find this style CSS file in the same folder that the inline HTML file is saved, because as we can see here is the HTML and inside that folder is the CSS, so we need to specify that path like that. Inside the style folder you can find the style CSS file, and now it's working fine, and we have a much better organization in our project, as we have here the HTML. Inside here we can put all the CSS files. Thank you guys. I'm gonna cut the video here because it's getting too long and we still need to see some other things about CSS. We need to continue practicing adding CSS to see some other CSS properties and their corresponding values. Maybe we will leave all this content for another video, for another session. I'm hoping to see you there. Thank you guys.